one of the key things that new product owners need to learn is how to manage their product backlog. It's a key part of the story. Yeah, I will point out that you don't necessarily need to do it yourself, right? You can delegate it, but you remain accountable. You as the product owner are accountable for value delivery. And if maximizing the value delivery, and if you have a terrible product backlog, regardless of whether you delegated it or not, still going to be you that's held accountable, right? So you, at least, especially if you're a new product owner, you're going to want to learn how to manage a product backlog, how to order that backlog, how to write a good backlog so that you enable understanding with everybody who needs to, who's reading it. So in order to do that, there's a lot of work involved in managing a product backlog. One of the key concepts that I think is often overlooked by product owners is that the purpose of the things in your backlog is they become ready, right? i.e. the team can take them on based on everybody's understanding of it. You can't measure understanding, right? You just can't measure it. You can't say, here's a line in the sand and at this point everybody understands it. It's a lot more nebulous than that, a lot more fuzzy than that. So you as a product owner need to learn to read the room, to know what language you need to use in order to enable understanding, to know what sometimes people don't want to admit that they don't understand your thing, right? So you need to learn to be able to read when people are in that category and maybe do some more around it. But there are kind of 4 key vectors that you need to understand, you need to enable for your product backlog. The first one is risk. How risky are the things on your product backlog? And that could be fiscal risk, it could be operational risk, it could be lots of different types of risk. What's the risk involved? And if things are really high risk, those are the things you want to spend a little bit more time on up front to understand them better, break them down, reduce the risk, right? That's key. That's part of refinement, right? Refining your product backlog is really important. You also need to understand the value. What are you going to get out of it? What do you think you're going to get out of it? Because remember, everything you think you're going to get out of it is an assumption until you actually get it in front of real users who are using it in production, okay? So you need to figure out what do we think the value is going to be? And does the value we think we're going to get actually outweigh the risk, right? If the risk is too high for the value, perhaps we don't bother doing it. It's too dangerous, it's too risky for our product. Another thing to understand is the size of the items on your backlog. How big are those things? I'm not going to tell you how to determine what big is, but I generally have a conversation with teams, the people who are going to do the work, right, are one of your primary audiences. Do they feel that they understand it enough that they can deliver it in a single sprint? That might be a question to ask. If they do understand it enough to deliver it in a single sprint, you're probably good to go. If they don't understand it, it could be either because it's too big or because there's not enough information, or they need more questions answered to be able to understand it a little bit more. And that's where refinement comes in. So we talked about risk, value, and size. And the last item is how we solve some of those problems is learning, right? Is there something that you need to learn by doing, right? Remember, Agile Manifesto, we learn more by doing. So maybe you can try and build something small. Maybe you can take on a little piece of that risk early on and try and do something in the product that hopefully alleviate that risk, or at least you figure out more about that risk. That's product backlog management. You've got this overarching refinement. You need to refine this backlog to ready, and then everybody needs to understand it so that the team can deliver it and the stakeholders understand the value, because if they don't understand the value, they're not going to turn up at the review, right? So how are you able to do that? We have Scrum.org have the new product backlog management course, which is specifically focused on this topic, that takes you through a whole bunch of complementary practices that can help you with that story. But there's also lots of different tools and techniques that we talk about in the product owner class, the advanced product owner class around that topic. Heck, even the professional Scrum with user experience brings in that refinement story. And if you really want to get serious, then you probably want to bring flow mechanics into your story, as in have a Kanban strategy applied to whatever your process is for delivering your product, and enable the maximum throughput in your process while you're also focused on maximizing the value. And that's an awesome combination, right? Ability to deliver and delivering the right thing. That's how you make awesome products. If you find it hard to manage your product backlog and maximize the value that you're returning, my team at Naked Agility can help, or we can help you find somebody who can. Don't let these sorts of issues undermine your ability to deliver value. Don't have a poor quality, not understood product backlog. Use the links in the description to get some help as soon as you can.